Dogs save Big Shaq from a gang of bikers. What they did will shock you. It was a quiet evening in a remote desert town, the kind of place where the wind carried whispers of old stories and the horizon stretched endlessly under a vast open sky. The sun was setting, painting the landscape in hues of orange and purple, casting long shadows across the cracked asphalt of an old, weathered gas station. Big Shaq, the larger-than-life comedian and musician, pulled his massive SUV into the station. The engine rumbled to a stop, and Shaq stepped out, his towering frame casting a shadow over the dusty ground. He adjusted his sunglasses, squinting against the fading light, and glanced at the fuel gauge. The needle hovered just above empty. "Guess this is as good a place as any," he muttered to himself, his deep voice carrying a hint of humor. As he approached the pump, he noticed something unusual. 5 large stray dogs lounged nearby, their coats matted, but their eyes sharp and alert. They were a motley crew: a German Shepherd, a Rottweiler, a pair of mixed breeds with scars that told stories of survival, and a smaller, scrappy terrier. They watched him with a quiet intensity, their ears twitching as if they understood every word he said. Shaq gave them a slight nod. "What's good, fellas?" he said, his voice booming but friendly. The dogs didn't respond, but their eyes followed his every move, their bodies tense and ready. He filled the tank, the smell of gasoline mixing with the dry desert air. The station attendant, an old man with a face as weathered as the landscape, leaned against the doorframe, watching Shaq with a mix of curiosity and respect. "You're a long way from anywhere, big man," the attendant said. Shaq chuckled. "Just passing through, my guy." The attendant glanced at the dogs. "Those mutts been hanging around here for weeks. Don't bother nobody, but they don't let nobody bother them either." Shaq looked at the dogs again, his eyes narrowing slightly. "They look like they've seen some things." Before the attendant could respond, the atmosphere shifted. A deep, rumbling sound filled the air, growing louder with each passing second. Shaq turned, his massive frame towering over the scene as a group of bikers rolled into the station, their motorcycles roaring like beasts. There were at least 10 of them, their leather jackets adorned with the emblem of a notorious outlaw gang, a skull with crossed pistons. Shaq had encountered their kind before: troublemakers, bullies, men who thrived on chaos and fear. The leader, a tall man with a beard as wild as his temper, stepped off his bike. His eyes locked onto Shaq, and a slow, menacing grin spread across his face. "Well, well," he drawled, his voice dripping with mockery. "Look what we got here. Big Shaq, the man, the myth, the legend." His crew laughed, a harsh, grating sound that echoed through the empty station. They dismounted their bikes, circling Shaq like vultures. One of them kicked over a trash can, sending it clattering across the ground. Another revved his engine, the noise deafening in the quiet evening. Shaq remained calm, his expression unreadable. He adjusted his sunglasses and leaned casually against his SUV. "If you boys are looking for an autograph, I left my pen in the car." The leader smirked, stepping closer. "Nah, we're looking for a little fun. Maybe take that fancy ride of yours for a spin. Or maybe—" He paused, his grin widening. "Maybe we'll just take it." The gang closed in, their movements deliberate and threatening. Shaq's hand twitched, but he didn't reach for anything. He knew better than to escalate things too quickly. Instead, he kept his eyes on the leader, his voice steady. "You sure you want to do this?" The leader laughed. Oh, I'm sure. But before anyone could make a move, the dogs, those same stray dogs that had been lounging nearby, suddenly stood up. Their ears perked, their bodies tense, and a low, guttural growl rumbled from their throats. The German Shepherd, the largest of the pack, stepped forward, its eyes locked on the bikers. The leader glanced at the dogs and scoffed. What's this? You back up? Shaq didn't respond. He just watched, his expression calm, but his eyes sharp. Then, chaos. The German Shepherd lunged first, its powerful body moving with startling speed. It clamped its jaws onto the leader's leather sleeve, yanking him off balance and sending him crashing to the ground. The other dogs followed, snarling and barking, their teeth bared as they charged at the bikers. One biker swung a chain at a dog, but the Rottweiler leaped, knocking him off his feet. Another tried to run, but the smaller terrier was too fast, snapping at his heels and driving him back. The mixed breeds worked together, herding the bikers into a tight group, their growls and barks creating a wall of sound that was as terrifying as it was effective. Shaq just stood there, watching with a knowing smirk. Looks like my boys don't take kindly to trouble, he said, his voice carrying over the chaos. The bikers, realizing they were outmatched, scrambled to their bikes. The leader, now bleeding from a bite on his arm, cursed under his breath as he climbed back onto his motorcycle. He pointed a shaking finger at Shaq. This ain't over, big man. Shaq tipped his sunglasses down slightly, peering over the rim. Sure it is. With engines roaring, the bikers sped off, disappearing into the desert in a cloud of dust and exhaust fumes. As the dust settled, Shaq knelt down, giving each of the dogs a pat on the head. You fellas earned a good meal tonight, he said, his voice softer now, almost affectionate. The dogs wagged their tails, their fierce demeanor melting into something almost gentle. The German Shepherd nuzzled Shaq's hand, and the terrier let out a happy yip. The gas station attendant, who had watched the entire scene unfold with wide eyes, stepped forward. I'll be damned, he said. Never seen anything like that. Shaq stood, brushing the dust off his jeans. Sometimes, the best backup comes on 4 legs. From that day on, those once stray dogs were no longer homeless. They rode with Shaq, his loyal protectors, proving that sometimes even a legend needs a little help. And as they drove off into the sunset, the dog sitting proudly in the back of his SUV, Shaq couldn't help but smile. Because real heroes don't always walk on 2 legs. Sometimes they run on 4. What happened next? The story of Big Shaq and the stray dogs spread like wildfire. News outlets picked it up, and soon the tale of the larger-than-life comedian and his unlikely protectors became the stuff of folklore. People traveled from miles around to catch a glimpse of the man and his dogs. But Shaq, ever the entertainer, kept the mood light. The dogs, now named by Shaq, Duke, Max, Bella, Rusty, and Scout, became his constant companions. They traveled with him, slept under the stars with him, and, on more than one occasion, saved him from trouble. As for the bikers, they were never seen in that part of the desert again. Rumor had it, they disbanded, their leader too shaken by the encounter to continue his life of crime. And so, Big Shaq and his pack of loyal dogs rolled on, their bond unbreakable, their legend growing with each passing day. Because in the end, it wasn't just about the man or the dogs. It was about the unspoken understanding that sometimes the most unexpected allies can change your life forever. The aftermath. In the weeks that followed, Shaq and his dogs became a symbol of resilience and loyalty. The story of their encounter with the bikers was told and retold, each version more dramatic than the last. But Shaq didn't pay much attention to the rumors. He had always been a man of action, not words. The dogs, however, seemed to enjoy their newfound fame. They strutted around with a confidence that made Shaq chuckle. "You boys are getting too big for your britches," he'd say, scratching Duke behind the ears. But despite their growing legend, life on the road remained much the same. Shaq and his pack traveled from town to town, stopping at small diners and dusty gas stations, always moving, always searching for the next adventure. One evening, as they camped under the stars, Shaq noticed something unusual. The dogs, usually so relaxed, were on edge. Their ears twitched, and their eyes were fixed on the horizon. "What is it, boys?" Shaq asked, his hand resting on the revolver at his side. Before the dogs could respond, a figure emerged from the shadows. It was a woman, her face hidden beneath a wide-brimmed hat. She stepped into the firelight, her eyes locking onto Shaq's. "Mr. Shaq," she said, her voice low and steady, "we need to talk." Shaq raised an eyebrow. "Do I know you?" The woman shook her head. "No, but you will. My name is Sarah, and I'm here to warn you. The bikers you ran into, they weren't just some random gang. They're part of something bigger, something dangerous. And they're coming for you." Shaq's expression hardened. "Let them come." Sarah stepped closer, her eyes pleading. "You don't understand. This isn't just about you anymore. It's about the dogs. They've seen what they can do, and they want them." Shaq glanced at the dogs, who were now standing protectively around him, their growls low and menacing. "They're not for sale." Sarah shook her head. "It's not about money. It's about power. And they'll stop at nothing to get it." Shaq stood, his hand tightening on the revolver. "Then they'll have to go through me." Sarah nodded, her expression grim. "I hope you're ready, Mr. Shaq, because this is just the beginning."